What's up, everyone? This is Dr. Webb here. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe. New videos coming every week. Today, we're going to talk about disability insurance. What is disability insurance? Why is it important? Some features of it, and also when should you get it? So I have Bill Olmsted here. He's going to tell us all about that. How you doing, Bill, today?
Good. Dr. Webb, how are you?
I'm doing great. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers and tell us who you are.
Yeah, no problem. My name is Bill Olmsted. I'm a disability expert with disabilityquotes.com. I'm a Guardian financial representative, and over the last 15 years, I've got almost $100 million of in-force protection for clients for disability and life insurance.
Awesome. So when someone mentions disability insurance, because when I first started residency, I didn't know what it was. I didn't hear about it until I got in residency. When someone talks about disability insurance, what is that? Can you break it down in layman's terms?
Yeah, sure. In the biggest sense, it's a type of insurance policy that protects your income. In the event that you become sick or injured and can't work, disability insurance pays you a monthly income so that you can continue to pay your bills.
Okay. And what I didn't know when I was kind of first starting off in residency, and also when I first came in physician, how important it is, because you go through all these years, you spend 4 years in college, 4 years in med school, and then you get through residency, and then something can happen. You can get sick, you can get ill. If you're a surgeon, you can injure your hands. That's when I realized how important disability insurance. When do you suggest that people should look into it and obtain this type of insurance? As medical students, or should they get it once they graduate medical school?
Sure. As medical students, or certainly in residency, is a great time to start looking at it because you can get some special discounts associated with the policies and a lot of residency programs. And like you said, you guys have put in a lot of time and energy and money into training for your craft. So it makes sense at that point to start to protect the future earnings that you're going to have once you graduate.
Okay. And what about other professions like nursing or PA, nurse practitioner, or any other? I know I kind of mostly focus on the medical field, but what about other fields outside of medicine, like engineering, or if someone wants to obtain disability insurance for that as well?
Sure. Anybody who depends on their income. So it's not unique to physicians, although physicians and people in the medical market are certainly have large interest in disability coverage and protecting their income. But we get requests from people all across the country, and nurses are actually our number one requested occupation. So we get a lot of requests from nurses to protect their income. You know, you guys see every day what happens when somebody doesn't go back to work the next day because of a medical condition. So it's pretty forefront in your minds. But engineers and business owners, dentists, anybody like that who relies on their income and has an income to protect should be looking at doing that with disability coverage.
Okay, and I know you mentioned being on the front lines. I see it all the time, especially in trauma surgery, when we have patients that come in and they may injure their ankle, and it's an injury where they can't place weight on it for 3 to 4 months. And if they are the sole provider for their household, this is their only source of income and they can't go back to work. I think that's when I think disability insurance is key. And just the other day, I was about to do a surgery on someone who had broke his, I believe broke his hip. And then his wife had came into the room and she had said, "It'll be all right." And then she called his name. "It'll be okay. Everything's going to be okay." Did we get that disability policy through your job? And he was like, "I honestly don't remember." And at that point, I was like, man, disability insurance is so important. You don't want to be in that situation where you're asking yourself, I wonder if I clicked the check box on this. I wonder if I filled out the paperwork for disability insurance. You don't want to be in that situation. So that's a real true story that happened just the other day. Because I know some jobs, they provide disability insurance for you. How's that different from like obtaining your own?
Sure. So you're right. A lot of employers do provide disability coverage for you, but it's not the same as an individual policy. The individual policies are generally much more comprehensive in terms of what they cover. There's also tax benefits to the individual policies that you don't have with the group policies. If you have a group policy through work and your employer is paying that premium, then those benefits are going to be taxable to you when they're received, whereas an individual policy is received on a tax-free basis generally. There's also differences in terms of what it means to be disabled between those two types of plans. A group plan at work is probably going to pay you for a couple of years if you can't do your job and you're not doing something else. But after that period of time, they really look to see, is there another job that you can do? Whereas an individual policy can be structured where it's own occupation, where it covers you in your specific job, your specific medical specialty even. So if you can't be a trauma surgeon, you would receive benefits, whereas with a group plan, if you decide to be a primary care doctor because you can't be a trauma surgeon, there's really a lot of plans out there aren't going to pay you. So there's differences in quality of coverage between group and individual, and there's obviously differences in terms of portability. You can't take a group plan with you if you leave the employer, whereas an individual plan does follow you from employer to employer, that kind of thing.
Okay. And you briefly spoke about the different types of disability insurance, like own occupation and true occupation. Can you briefly explain what that is and how should one decide like which one to get?
Yeah. So the best type of disability definition out there is own occupation.
Okay.
Disability insurance is really the only kind of insurance policy that doesn't have a standard by which everybody gets paid. With auto insurance, you go wreck your car and everybody pretty much pays the claim in that situation. But with disability insurance, it's different. Some policies will pay if you can't do your own job, which is the best kind. Some policies will pay you if you can't do your own job, so long as you're not doing something else. And some policies will pay you if you just can't do any job. The best type and the kind that most physicians look for is something that's specific to their medical specialty. So again, with the trauma surgeon, if you can't be a trauma surgeon, you probably could still do some other type of work inside of medicine, but you're not going to make the same kind of money. So you want to get a policy that pays you if you can't do your specialty, even if you decide to do some other type of work inside or outside of medicine.
And that's called the own occupation?
Own occupation, and specifically you can get policies that are medical specialty specific.
Okay.
That's the best type.
Okay. So say, for example, I'd give two different scenarios. You're a resident going through your training and something happens to you, whether you get really sick, come up with an autoimmune disorder, and you just can't complete your internal medicine residency. You're not able to work anymore because of that. After maybe a grace period, you don't have your resident salary anymore because you're not doing your job. But if you had disability insurance, you will receive an income that's tax-free through the insurance company, and they will pay you up until how long does that usually last?
Generally till age 65, but you can choose the benefit period. Some policies can pay longer, some policies might pay shorter, depending upon what's important to you. But typically, age 65 is a typical long-term benefit period.
Okay, and on the kind of later on during the years, once you complete your residency, you're out, you're making, let's say, $300,000 per year. You have a house, you have a car, you have a family to take care of, you have bills, and all of a sudden, you just can't work anymore. Maybe you are a surgeon and you injure your hands, or you come up with multiple sclerosis. You can't operate anymore. At that time, your income is really crucial, and having some type of disability insurance is probably it's extremely important because you don't have income. You can't pay your overhead. So that's kind of on the other extreme and why it's important, as far as I understand.
Sure, and that's exactly right. When you're in residency, what you're really protecting against is future earnings. In residency, obviously, salaries are much less than when you get out and become a practicing physician, but the income potential in residency is still there. So it's important to get a policy while you're in residency that covers not only your salary in residency, but also your future earnings. And you can do that by what's called a future increase option. So a lot of residents will buy a relatively small policy while they're in residency, but have the option of increasing that without any more medical questions when they get out and they start making more money. So you buy a policy now in residency, hopefully with a little bit of a discount, because there's a discount associated perhaps with your residency program. And then you get out, you start making $300,000, you can increase that policy without going back through all the medical questions again. And obviously, once you're making $300,000, you want to have a higher benefit amount to cover your higher expenses. So the policies can adjust based on your income as you continue to make more.
Got you. And how much coverage should one expect say, for instance, as a resident and then as a staff physician? How much coverage should you expect to purchase?
So most insurance companies will give you somewhere between 50 and 60% on a tax-free basis of your gross. Ironically, as you make more money, that percentage goes down. So someone making $500,000 isn't going to get the same income replacement percentage as someone making $50,000. but it is tax-free. So by the time you factor in the fact that your $300,000 salary is certainly not tax-free, the insurance company is going to replace roughly, in that situation, probably 60-65% of your gross income.
Gotcha. And what kind of features, when you're looking at disability policies, there's a lot of different companies out there. Like, how should physicians, med students, medical personnel, non-medical personnel, what kind of features should they look for in a good disability policy, if there is one, like a good policy?
Sure. So we talked about own occupation. I'm a big believer in that. I think that's really important. So look for a policy that's got own occupation coverage, that it protects you in your area of medicine or your specialty, in whatever field that you happen to be in. Look for a policy that's got partial or residual disability benefits associated with it, because not all claims are total. Not all disabilities are where you're out of work full time. A lot of them are you're working in your specialty, but you're just seeing fewer patients or working fewer hours, but you still have a loss of income. So you want to make sure that the policy covers you for a partial or a residual disability as well. You want to make sure that it's non-cancelable and guaranteed renewable. That means the premiums are locked in and won't increase as you get older, and the insurance company can't cancel or change the coverage for any reason. If you're younger, a cost of living adjustment rider is important so that the benefits increase to keep pace with inflation. A future increase option rider we talked about a minute ago, so that you can lock in your ability to buy more coverage as your income increases without having to go back through medical underwriting is a nice feature to have, especially if you're coming out of residency and expect your income to grow. And then there are other features that are maybe a little bit less important but are nice to have, like coverage for student loans. A lot of physicians obviously have student loans. If you became disabled, this particular feature pays those student loans for you. And coverage for retirement income. So a lot of people, obviously maxing out 401ks and saving for retirement, but if you become disabled, that savings generally stops or certainly reduced. So you want to make sure that you have coverage that continues to pay for what happens after 65 and the insurance policy benefits stop. That'll continue your retirement savings. So those are some of the things to look for in a good quality policy.
Gotcha. And I didn't really know about the paying back your student loans. Because that's one of the things, especially if it's through the government, that can be never forgiven. But you can add that to your policy to have your student loans paid back in the event that you're not able to work. I didn't know that. That's
correct.
That's pretty good to know. And how do you choose between, there are lots of different disability companies out there, or companies that provide disability insurance. How do you choose between which company to go with?
It's important to have a company that's got all those provisions that we just talked about. That's one way to do it. You want to make sure that the contract fits what you're trying to accomplish, and you want to make sure it's got those features in it. And then you want to make sure that they're obviously a leader in the industry, that they've been doing disability insurance for a long time, that they're well respected and rated by the independent rating organizations, AM Best, Standard & Poor's, Moody's and Fitch. You want to make sure you're looking for an A+ rated insurance company that's got the financial backing to pay a claim that might happen in 10 or 20 or 30 years from now. So that's very important as well.
Okay, awesome. So disability insurance, very important. That's one of the first things that I made sure that I got when I became a physician, because I realized how important it was. And like I said, the other day, before taking a patient to surgery, he had broke his hip. His wife had leaned over to him and said, "Hey, did you get that disability policy?" And he said, "I don't recall if I did or not." You definitely don't want to be in a situation like that. Things happen. I don't know the exact percentage of how many people actually get sick between the ages of 20 and 40, but it is a fairly high amount of people who do. And you just don't know that something may happen to you. You have to protect yourself, especially going through the years as a physician. You go through all this training, go through all these years, you need to protect yourself. So I think it's extremely important. I would highly recommend it. If people out there wanted to look into more about obtaining a disability policy or learning more about it, where can they go to do that?
You can request a free quote through disabilityquotes.com. The link, I believe, is in the description of the video. You can certainly get some free information, no obligation quote from us on that site. Get a good sense as to what it costs. We have a nice instant quote tool there that you can kind of see what you should expect to pay. But then, reach out to us via email or call me directly, 301-919-1990, and I'll be happy to walk anybody through the options in terms of what might be appropriate for them.
Okay, so basically it's pretty simple. You just go to the website, disabilityquotes.com, and then you get a free quote from you guys. And what's the steps after that? What's the next process?
So once we presented the quote and we've talked about it, make sure it's what's appropriate for our clients, then there's a short application process to go through. It's all online. So we can, gather the information and get you medically underwritten. You get a lot of people get a free blood test out of it. They'll come see you for that. Make sure that you're in good health, and then issue the policy. The whole process takes 3 to 5 weeks, depending upon medical history and how much there is to obtain.
Okay, and that's why it's probably better to obtain it sooner than later. And also, do you think it's cheaper to obtain it while you're in residency versus wait until you get out?
Yeah, it's definitely cheaper because the prices are locked in at whatever age you are when you buy it. So if you buy a policy at 25 or 30, that's going to be a lot less expensive than if you buy it at 35 or 40. So they lock in the rates at whatever age you buy it. And as I said, there's oftentimes some discounts associated with different residency programs that we can take advantage of.
Okay. And just some general numbers, just so the viewers can have a kind of general idea how much these things cost. If I had to just put a number out there, I would say it ranges probably from person to person, but maybe $200 to $400 per month. Is that?
Yeah, depending upon how much coverage, obviously. Good rule of thumb is 3 to 5% of your gross income. Okay. For a good quality policy, sometimes lower, sometimes higher, depending upon health, and again, how much coverage you qualify for based on your income and how much you want.
Okay, because I know as residents, we don't get paid a lot, and a lot of residents or resident physicians, they're concerned about having that extra income to pay for disability insurance, but I think it's important. I think it's a great investment, so I would highly recommend it to everyone out there. As soon as you become a physician or even in medical school, start looking for it. You don't want to go through the years and be put in a situation where you're wondering, like, hey, did I get that disability insurance, or am I going to be covered if I can't complete my training or be a doctor anymore? So, Bill, thank you so much for explaining and breaking down like what disability insurance is. Tell the people one more time your website and also a good phone number for you.
Yep, disabilityquotes.com, and feel free to request a quote from us there, or call me directly at 301-919-1990. And again, the link directly to our physician page on our site is in the description of the emails. Use that link. It's the easiest way to get in touch with us.
Awesome. And for everyone else, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe. New videos coming every week. You don't want to miss them. We'll see you next time.